Hello and welcome. November was a very interesting month for me and us here at the farm. As you can see here, it started out rainy and wet and on the cold side. But then we got a break in the weather, and my nephew come out and we carried the canoe back to the pond and figured, well, we got the canoe back there. Let's get in there and try. I wanted to see if I could find out how deep that pond was. It's not very deep. I could probably walk across it. But we had fun. We got the canoe out on the pond and we had a lot of fun with it. While the weather was nice and warm, I also thought I would take advantage of the time and get me some extra storage. Since I have more or less taken over the barn with my power tools, I needed extra storage, so we went out and bought this little canvas carport. And I'm very sorry I didn't get any recordings of it, but here's the finished product. Then, shortly after I got that project finished, we had our first snowfall. Now remember, this is early November in northwestern Pennsylvania, and I gotta tell you, I've been living in Tennessee for the last 20 years, so this was more snow than I've probably seen in all those 20 years down there. But it got me thinking, since I've taken over that barn, I need to find a way to heat that barn. So because of that, I figured the best approach to heat up there would be propane. And this was my first attempt at it. I bought a little buddy heater, the DeWalt version of it. I liked it. It was pretty nice. However, it wasn't near big enough to heat the whole area of the barn. Do a quick unboxing for you here. Nothing much to see here. It's came together. There was really no assembly required. You got to put your gas tanks in it and stuff. But so this was my first attempt at heating the upper part of the barn. It works real well for my dogs. They love it. So that's pretty much become their heater up in the workshop. Now I do have that torpedo heater, and it works fine. It's warms that area up real fast, but it's awful loud. And I was hoping to come up with some way to heat that area without it being so loud. So I went out and I invested in a tank top heater. I got me a Mr. Heater there, and we'll do a quick unboxing of this product too. But there's really, and with this one, there's not much to see. There's not much assembly. One little piece goes on there. But we'll show it to you anyways. And I figured my hope now is that between the two, my little buddy heater and this tank top heater, it'll generate enough heat that I can work up in the barn up there. This heater works real well. It takes a little while to heat up the space because of the fact that it's so open and airy and not insulated. But it does warm the place up to where I can function. I can take my coat off, and I'm not cold. My hands aren't cold, so it worked real well. I like using propane as my fuel for the heat source. It's relatively inexpensive. The last time I bought 50 pounds of propane, and it was only like $38. That little buddy heater is great, and it's a keeper. It does work with the 1 pound propane tanks, just the same as our foggers in the summertime work on the 1 pound propane tanks. So now this means that I have a need and a use for those little 1 pound tanks both winter and summer. And I thought, man, that's going to get expensive buying those little 1 pound tanks. So I thought I would give my hand a shot at trying out this refillable propane system. So I invested it was under $50 for this whole thing, not the gas included, but I liked it. I think it works out real well, and I am happy that I don't have to buy those tanks all the time. This system worked out real well for me. I've been through 3 or 4 refills already, and it's quick, easy, and so I got that problem solved. Now I did my first refill up there in a barn. I wasn't too worried about the fumes, because that area is open and very, very well ventilated. So, but eventually, that'll be either down the lower part of the barn, or I'll build a little lean-to outside for it. I'll go through the process real quick for you here, how I set it up and how it works. It works real well. It's quick and easy. Very little waste. When I run my tank top heater up there, I usually turn on the little buddy heater as well, and I usually run it on full, so these tanks will last about 3 hours. So you can imagine how many of those 1 pound tanks I'd be going through if I was buying them instead of refilling them. So in that respect, I really, really, really like this. It's very appealing to me. And propane, I like it because it's cheap. I chose it over kerosene because kerosene is another fuel, and I got enough fuels I'm worrying about. This system is real nice. Hook it up to the thing, turn it on, and let the air bleed out, and you'll see when the gas starts coming out, it's full. I usually, as soon as I see the gas, I'll shut it off, which means that the tank isn't exactly really full, but means I can refill it. What do I care, right? So now with my propane issues solved and my heat issues solved, it was time for me to tackle the power issues I have out there. Because of the fact that I have plans to run my table saw, my chop saw, my router, and all those other tools, I needed a way to get some power out there. And running a line out there wasn't viable because it just wasn't going to happen. So I decided on getting me a good generator to generate the electricity and the power I need to run my power tools out there. So this was my next little purchase that I made. Except for the fact that you can't call this a little purchase. This was a major purchase for me. And I am very excited about the possibilities. So we need to get her into the barn and get her unboxed and hooked up and see how it's going to work for us. 6,000 watts running power, 7,500 watt peak power. It should be plenty big enough to run my tools, which I'm never going to run more than one at a time anyway, so I'm hoping to be very, very happy with this purchase. Did the unboxing here. Got her unboxed and a little assembly. Got to put the wheels and the wheel stands on, and that's the only assembly, and hook up the battery. It is battery operated. It has a little 12-volt battery in there, so it's a push button start. That's pretty nice. I absolutely love the fact that it's on wheels, because I do have plenty of uses for that in other places besides up here at the barn. As I'm sure anybody that has a generator knows, it's nice to have a mobile, and especially for a big one like this. And so it wasn't too bad. It was at the local farm and home store. I picked it up under $600, and it's a brand name. And you know, I'm thinking that this generator should last me the rest of my life, and because I will take care of it. Here we're doing some assembly. Putting the wheels and the wheel stands on it, and then we're gonna put the fluids in and fire this bad boy up. And I will show you the test that I did. I wanted to make sure that it was going to run my table saw, so we will set that up and run that test here in a little bit. This purchase is actually a huge purchase for me. It gives me the ability to generate electricity anywhere on that 5 acres. I am thrilled about that. And because it's on wheels, I can haul it wherever I want to go. This was the last big purchase I made in November. And so with the power tools that I bought in October and November, I guess I spent a few bucks here these last 2 months getting myself set up here at the farm. But we got quite the collection of tools, and now I have the ability to run the ones that are powered by electricity. So we're gonna take her outside, put some gas in her, and fire this bad boy up. This generator has over 6.5 gallon tank, which is, you can see I'm filling it out of a 5 gallon tank. So I'm going to have to make other arrangements for my gas, because I now have a dozen, at least a dozen gas powered tools on the farm, and we'll go over them one of these days. Um, so here we go. We're ready for the test. I got the generator fired up. I got it plugged in, and we're gonna plug it into the table saw over here and see what happens. I was very pleased with the results. It ripped that 2x4 without even batting an eyelash. Didn't even think about losing power or slowing down. So I'm sure that this generator is going to do the job for me. My next task will be to try to get some sort of organization up there in the barn to where I can work safely. But I am now well equipped to do that. So that brings us up to the end of the month. We did have a brief respite in the weather, and I thought I would take advantage of the rather nice day and get some wood chipping done. I did some tree trimming. I'm sorry I didn't get any chainsaw video in for you, but we'll try to get that in for you next time. But we are going to do some wood chipping here. One of the reasons I bought this wood chipper was to start lining these pathways going back to the pond. This property is almost perpetually wet and rarely dries out, and the pathways have gotten a little muddy and worn down. There's roots sticking up, and so I'm going to start lining them with wood chips. The wood chipper, I've only used it a couple of times so far, but it works real well. On the larger branches, as you'll see here, you just have to feed it a little bit at a time. You can't just jam the whole thing in. There's like here coming up, you'll see I can only go a little wee bit at a time. Oh, we scared Patch too. All right. So yeah, there you go. We had an interesting month, I'd say, for November this year, and we're going to see what comes up next month. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank y'all for watching, and give us a like and a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time. Be safe, everyone. Bye.